Okay, many of you may know Ken. He has spoken at so many of our conferences virtually, in person. He is just a world-renowned orthotist, and so I'll have him introduce yourself, but he shares the most wonderful information about bracing. Also, Allard is here, so after this session or during lunch, please go try on braces. As someone who waited way too long to go to bracing, it is life-changing. So listen with open minds. Thanks, Ken.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Hi, everybody. I just want to start by saying what an honor it is to be here right now with these leaders of the industry and around the world. It's very humbling to be here with all of you. And for the team that I work with at Mass General, it's been the highlight of my career. I just want to let you all know it's been a great opportunity for me. Thank you. Louder? Oh, is this better? Sorry. Well, that was a little mushy thing I was just talking about, being part of the MGH Center of Excellence, and I really liked it. But I'm going to start with the presentation. Green button, right? Aha. So AFOs and CMT, basically that's my specialty. When I decided to be an orthotist years ago, I didn't know I was going to be a specialist in Charcot-Marie-Tooth disease, but it's where it's taken me, and it's been very rewarding. The goals for this presentation, and when I did it, poor Laurel, I sent her a presentation that was going to be like 3 hours long, so I pared it down, and I'm going to try to get as much done as I can in the 35 minutes that we have. But I want to talk about goals. The goals for the presentation, certainly attendees should understand what they can expect from AFOs. And that's a big thing. Most people get AFOs. How many people in the room have AFOs? Wonderful. How many in the roam feel like, am I doing okay? How many people in the room think they have the perfect AFO for their condition? Yeah, a lot less hands. So expectations is kind of important, so I want to go over that. How can AFOs normalize gait for CMT? We're going to go over that. We're going to talk about what the basic elements of gait are, because gait is kind of complicated. If you've ever read gait studies, and I've tried to read a bunch of them, they can be very complicated. There's a lot of math. There's a lot of force vectors and a lot of physics in it. But gait can be broken down into some basic elements, and I'm going to share that all with you today. And then what types of AFOs, I'm going to read this way here, this is better. What types of AFOs can address the specific CMT issues? And then how gait training with AFOs can get patients to their full potential. So hopefully you'll have all that. And I was asked to talk about the latest and greatest innovations in AFO technology, and really there's not much right now. Well, 2003 won't be the year for that. I'm very excited to discuss what we have for current technologies and how really effective they can be to improve your quality of life and your mobility. And I'm gonna, AFOs, I used to have a slide here that had a whole slide filled with AFOs, different AFOs. I'm gonna talk about two basic types of AFOs here today. The one on the left is Blue Rocker by Allard, they're right outside here. And I use that type of AFO a lot. When people have so much deformity that type of brace is no longer appropriate, then we have to do something much more customized. But unfortunately, while the AFO on the left, the Blue Rocker AFO, allows for motion, it's called the dynamic carbon AFO because it has this dynamic function when you walk with it. It'll move and flex and restore energy and then put energy back into your gait pattern. The brace on the right, unfortunately, immobilizes your ankle. And that leaves you sort of like you're in a cast. But that can have amazing power to correct the deformity, to correct your weight line, and we're going to focus a lot on the weight line here today. So, what can I expect from AFOs? If I was sitting in the audience, that's what I would want to know myself. And we all know, like I say, what you can expect from when you buy a car or a cell phone or you go to Disney World, but people don't really know what to expect when they get an AFO. It's kind of a mystery. And expectations for patients vary tremendously. I've had patients come in with almost no expectations at all, not knowing if it'll help at all. And some people just want the brace to be perfect. They want to walk like they never had CMT. It should be invisible, weigh nothing, and of course take up no room in my shoes. And shoes is always an issue with CMT, as you all know. So to avoid disappointment, we want to make expectations clear. I say that expectations sort of come down to everything. All the relationships you have, even with your mailman, all come down to expectations. And if they don't meet your expectations, you get disappointed. So we want to make the expectations very clear. So AFO should do these 7 things. They should manage the weight line by correcting the foot and ankle deformity. That's number 1. Job number 1 of orthotic management is to manage the weight line. My friend Marmaduke Look in San Diego basically says, if you had to boil down orthotic management into one phrase, it's managing the weight line. And that is so true. I actually have a poster of it for my residents to go look at every day in the office. It's very true. We also, of course, wanted to eliminate foot drop and any ankle instability. We wanted to restore the basic elements of human gait. And by that, we're going to talk about a heel-toe gait pattern, and that's what can be broken down into those normal elements. And we want to improve static and dynamic alignment. Balance. How many people have a problem with balance? Everybody on Zoom should know that almost everybody raised their hand with that. Yeah, balance is an issue, and often is the most important issue of patients. And AFOs can help tremendously with both static and dynamic balance. I'm also going to plug our study that we did at Mass General a few years ago and talk about that. We also want to restore propulsion to increase walking speed and decrease fatigue. We're going to talk about that and improve confidence. Confidence, by the way, confidence comes from 2 things. If you want to have confidence in something, it needs to be predictable and it needs to be consistent. And that's true with anything. And then over time, if it is predictable and consistent, you'll have confidence in it. And that's what we're going to talk about, how AFOs can help with that. So this is my friend Chris. Chris came from Bermuda, and I talked to him the other day. He said it was okay to share this video with you. And he's really good because this is the first time he was there. And you're going to look at a lot of very familiar things to you, I'm sure. And I'm going to talk about them specifically. Obviously, he has foot drop, and that's the first thing people key on with Charcot-Marie-Tooth disease, foot drop. And that they all want the brace to handle foot drop. Most braces manage foot drop nicely. He also has some ankle instability, although his ankles don't roll out, they roll in slightly too much. 25% of CMT patients pretty much have plain old valgus feet instead of cavovarus feet. He does have poor balance. I'm going to ask him to balance here and go up on his toes and go up on his heels, and he can't do that. People have painful high arches and calluses, hammer toes, lack of confidence. He also has very limited in his walking speed. And you notice the downward gaze. I talk about that a lot. Patients who have CMT and have no confidence in their gait and where their foot's going to be with every step, they'll look down. You want to look at the ground and make sure you're not going to step on who said it was a walnut shell earlier, and lose your ankle. Exactly right. And so people look down. So the most important thing to consider when getting AFOs is to get the AFO that meets your specific needs. And everyone in this room has a bit different needs, slightly different from somebody else, because it's never the same, exactly the same. And different AFOs can provide different benefits. The trick is to get the right AFO to meet your specific needs. And there are different AFOs, for example, foot drop versus foot slap. Foot slap usually happens first. And by foot slap, you all know what I'm talking about. You take a step and you hear that audible foot slap when we walk, versus foot drop, which is a swing phase problem, and that's when the foot can catch on the ground as you're walking. Lateral ankle instability. If you don't have any lateral instability, you may need a different brace than if you do have lateral ankle instability. If you can walk on your toes, but you can't walk on your heels, you need a different type of AFO for that. Whether your balance problems are mild, moderate, or severe, requires a different amount of ground reaction, and that's going to help you with your balance. And I was at the airport coming back from Oklahoma City the other day and said, well, all we're talking about is human gait. And this was a great place to observe gait, sitting at a restaurant at an airport. So we're going to talk about human gait. Human gait can be broken down into 2 phases. This is where we're going to break down a very complicated topic and make it very simple. So let's try to make it simple. This is called the inverted pendulum model for gait. And what you're going to see here is one pendulum in swing phase, and that's our leg in swing phase, right? Can you guys hear me if I step away from the mic?
You can use the handheld, Ken.
Oh, the handheld. Oh, yeah. Is that better? Good. Okay, good. So, thank you. So, in swing phase, when the leg is swinging through the air, of course, it's like a pendulum on a grandfather clock, right? And in stance phase, now the foot is fixed on the ground, and this is how we advance our mass over a distance. Now we're going to, like going over a pole vaulting stick, we're going to go over, and then we call that stance phase. In swing phase, this is where we have foot drop. This is where we see the toe would be dragging the ground, and we want to correct that. That's all we're going to talk about with swing phase. In stance phase, This is where all the action takes place for CMT patients. Here, we're going to see things like foot slap, ankle instability, poor balance, lack of propulsion. And we want to address those things in stance phase. And this is a great slide. We got this from Alid. This is called canal jumping, and it's a great demonstration of how do we move our mass over a distance. I could watch this for days. But this guy had to have won too. This was but this is how efficient human gait can be. This is how we advance our mass over a distance. It's great. In the stance phase, we're looking for 3 basic stance phase rockers, and I talk about this a lot at our clinic too. Jacqueline Perry redefined gait years ago, and she broke part of stance phase down into 3 stance phase rockers. And first rocker occurs when the foot hits the ground. We're supposed to get the slow, controlled plantar flexion of the foot down to the floor. It shouldn't be a slap. It should be nice and controlled. This also helps with our propulsion a little bit, as the literature talks about too. There's a little more propulsion as we rock over the heel. Second rocker occurs when the foot is fixed on the floor, again, as we're going to move over our foot, and this is how we advance our mass over a distance. Third rocker occurs just prior to heel strike of the leading foot, when we get heel rise of the trailing foot. That's going up on our toe. That subtle little, sometimes insignificant little detail accounts for 70% of your propulsion. So that means patients who can do that get 70% better gas mileage than the patients that can't do that. And so we want to restore that if we can. And here we're going to look at normal gait. This is a pediatric nurse at a hospital I work with, and she has amazing gait. I put a GWAS gait analysis system on her, and she just skied every parameter. She did really, really well, and I'm going to talk about what she's doing here. So we're going to break it down into general parts of gait, swing phase, and stance phase. In general, we see, well, first of all, human gait is tremendously efficient. Look at how far she goes and how quickly she goes. Walking speed is great. Her propulsion is great. She has great pelvic motion. We're going to talk about that. Her head barely moves, and that's what we want when we walk. The new definition of gait and stability is when the head and shoulders barely move and all the motion takes place in the pelvis instead, like hers does. Of course, she's able to look around while she's walking, and she has amazing confidence when she walks. In swing phase, she's getting good toe clearance. In stance phase, we're seeing all 3 of those stance phase rockers. And now we're going to look at some compensatory gait. This is opposite of normal gait. This is compensatory gait. This gait pattern is making up for sensory and motor deficits. And you all know Charcot-Marie-Tooth disease. The real name for that disease is hereditary motor sensory neuropathy. And so it's both muscle power and sensation. And here we see, it's always less efficient, of course, but he has this downward gaze. He has a lot of body sway. He's got this steppage gait pattern, making up for the foot drop. He's very guarded, and he has very poor propulsion. Speaking of propulsion, this is my nephew Isaac running on the lake up in Maine, and he's a track star, and he demonstrates propulsion beautifully. Look at how he's propelling off his rear foot and moving beautifully. Again, 70% of our propulsion comes from our ability to do that, and that's achieving heel rise just prior to heel strike or leading foot. This also contributes, if you can't do that, this contributes a lot to our fatigue. Speaking of fatigue, this is associated with lack of heel rise. If you can't keep up, if you feel that you just shouldn't be that tired, these types of patients need an AFO that will restore heel rise. Balance. Balance, there are 4 basic ingredients for balance. One of them is muscle strength. Muscle strength helps us with our riding reactions. If we start to lean forward, we push our feet down and we ride ourselves. So we're riding our center of gravity over our body. As you get more weakness, of course, that gets impaired, and that's a problem for CMT patients. Vision and vestibular function are basically just that. When you can focus on a stationary object, it helps you tell you where you are in space. Of course, anyone who's played pin the tail on the donkey knows what vestibular function is. Spin somebody around and you lose your balance. And proprioception is the 4th thing. I'm going to talk more about that. But it's the weakness in the proprioceptive loss that affects most of our patients with CMT. CMT's patients are challenged with, like I say, muscle weakness and proprioceptive loss. And so how do you compensate? Well, very well, actually. You always sort of walk to a destination, and I love doing this. You sort of, well, there's no place to do it, but you walk to a destination, you just sort of subtly, right? Or a finger on a wall, right? Or holding on to your spouse. One woman, she was so funny. She says, I don't need a brace, I don't need a brace. And she's holding on to her husband the whole time. Your husband's your brace. You can also lean against the coffee table, but these guys, they're very subtle about it. They just sort of, and all my patients, when I ask them to walk, they'll walk, touch the wall, make their turn, and then walk back. We want to try to eliminate that need for you to have to go and always wind up finding a stationary object to make contact with. The coffee table analogy works really well for this. Proprioception, not many people, unless you've studied it, you don't know what it is, but it's basically a position sense. It's a requirement for balance, and it's the ability to know where a body part is in space and how it's moving relative to the rest of the body. And it's associated with muscle spindle fibers. I don't want to spend too much time, but I'm going to show this guy here, Mark, who you saw earlier. Hopefully he's going to play that video. Oops. How do I back up? Oh, here we go. Can you guys play that video? Can you press something on it? No? Oh, I hope these videos play. Oh, there's one. Thank you.
Okay, so hands on your hips.
Okay.
No problem. Yeah, so hang on to the bars. You feel like you can be pretty straight.
Yep.
You have good balance.
Yep.
Eyes closed. If you let go of the
I think
bars.
they're both playing at the same time now.
I immediately feel myself looking for it more.
Lower your center of gravity.
Yeah,
And hang on. What happens if you close your eyes?
I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, it goes back. Can you go back one more time and play the second video? Here he is now with an AFO. Now this AFO you see on his left leg,
Okay, so
this
hands
AFO
on
is a
your-
solid ankle ground reaction AFO. It has amazing ground reaction. So when you stand and lean into it, it's like you're leaning into a coffee table, I say. And I always tell people, find the coffee table when they stand up with ground reaction AFOs. That's how you know where you are in space. It's very effective. Sort of like a ski boot for a skier. Any people skiers in the room? Skiing is a great sport I find for CMT patients because for balance-wise, oh my God, a ski boot makes an amazing brace. And also when you attach that ski boot to the ski, you get amazing ground reaction. And skiers basically compete like they're
That's great. Thanks.
not affected. So anyway, that video showed him finding the ground reaction from the AFO, and that restored his balance. He didn't have to crouch, he didn't have to hold on. He could close his eyes and he maintained his balance. It sort of shows that ground reaction can really improve static balance, just like leaning against a coffee table. And I'm going to skip this one here. This is a 2-minute video and I'm going to run out of time. Oop, I'm just going to play.
So this is, it's working. This is my friend Ian. Ian has type 2 Charcot-Marie-Tooth disease. Has been confirmed only by EMG testing. We don't know what subtype he has. He's had multiple surgeries, including some toe straightening surgery that worked well for hallux, not so much on the on 2 through 5 on the right side. On the left side, he's had it done to all 5. He's also had, as a child, some Achilles tendon lengthenings. He's had plantar fascia release on this side. Later on, orthopedic surgeon, who was very good, actually did a posterior tib tendon transfer, which he transferred the posterior tib through the interosseous space and transferred it to the dorsum of the foot laterally, so that turns into an everter. And she also did a calcanealostomy to take some of the varus out of the ankle. Since then, this foot is no longer has any lateral instability. If anything, it has a little medial instability. This side here is still a little hint of lateral instability. Okay, Ian, come on over. This is Ian walking.
So without any
Just go
AFOs,
back and forth a couple times if you would.
yeah. A lot of upper
So,
body trunk sway.
Foot slap, a lot of lateral trunk motion, painful feet, no propulsion. Okay, thank you. Okay, go ahead.
So with dynamic carbon ground react
Come on
AFOs,
back.
propulsion
One more
came
time.
back. That was the big thing. We're still going to work on his gait. He's got a little more upper body sway. When your upper body is moving in this direction when you're walking, your pelvis is moving in the wrong direction. So we like to correct that when we
There
get
we go.
going.
Can you put your hands on your hips? How's your balance?
Great. Much Much better.
Much better. Eyes closed? No problem. Solid as a rock?
Solid as a rock.
Groovy. Thanks so much.
No problem.
Okay.
That was my 2-minute video. That was the longest one, I promise. But it showed a really nice result for him. And the biggest thing you notice there, of course, is the increase in propulsion and static balance. And he also took the pain out of his feet as well. Great result for Ian, but what can all of us expect? I talk about a wow improvement all the time. AFOs should wow you. I tell a story about my daughter all the time too. She got glasses in the 4th grade. She looked out the window and she said, "Oh, look, leaves." Terrible parent. She had never seen leaves before inside the house. But that was a wow improvement. I asked the doctor, I said, "Doc, when do you think she'll need to wear these glasses?" He says, "I think you're going to find that she's going to prefer," he would prefer to wear them most of the time. That was 25 years ago. I internalized that back then with all my patients too. You should have a wow improvement when you wear your AFOs. It should be like leaves, you know, really big wow improvement. And it should also be that you wear them when you prefer to. Like Dr. Chong was saying earlier, you don't have to wear them all the time. Not when the therapist tells you or I tell you it. You wear them when you prefer to. If you don't get a wow improvement out of it, then you'll choose not to wear it. Nobody wants to wear AFOs. And I always talk about kinda. I don't like kinda. I don't like sorta helps. It should be a really wow improvement. No one ever wants to wear AFOs. Everybody agree here? Nobody wants to wear AFOs unless they had to, right? You don't want to buy bigger shoes. Take extra time to put them on and off. Plus the time for doctors, prescriptions, orthotists, insurance, adjustments, all those things you have to do. Patients always prefer to have nothing on their feet and legs unless it's a wow. And that's what we'll try to do. So I put up this really quick 1-minute self-exam. If anybody here considering getting AFOs but doesn't have them yet? A few hands, right? So, geez, do I really need AFOs or not? Well, these 4 things, a really quick self-exam, takes a minute. Look at yourself stand on one leg, and is your ankle stable and well aligned? If it isn't, job number 1, correct the weight line. Can you walk on your heels? If you can't, you don't have enough dorsiflexor strength to hold your foot up, an AFO would benefit you. If you can't walk on your toes, that's that propulsive piece. And if you can stand in open space, look up at the sky, track a sky, you have good balance, then you don't need an AFO. If you can't do that, you do. So those 4 things. And then I said, well, how can I make patients understand that, what type of AFO should I have, right, for them? And so we're going to look at different AFOs and talk about different things. But first of all, managing the weight line. This shows a really nice picture of, this ankle here, severely unstable laterally, only minimally unstable laterally here. And then, of course, they're straight, and then it goes into valgus. But if your ankles are just minimally rolling over, you maybe just need foot orthotics, right? If it's severe, you need more bracing with more lifting, and maybe sometimes even stronger braces to immobilize the ankle to get it really straight so you can manage the weight line first. In stance phase, again, we're going to talk about these 3 stance phase rockers. You want to be able to, a brace will restore all those things for you. It can restore normal gait, and that's what we want. If you had a PLS, stands for posterior leaf spring. This is the older style plastic AFO. Anybody here have those? Yeah, that brace is mostly designed for foot drop, a swing phase problem. And so if you check it out, does it treat all the things we're looking for that affect most CMT patients? And it really doesn't. It doesn't provide a whole lot of ankle instability. It'll take care of first rocker and second rocker, but it won't pick your heel up. It's not strong enough for a propulsive, and it's also not going to help you with your proprioception because it offers no ground reaction. So if you just have foot drop, this might be a great brace for you. An articulated AFO. This is the most commonly prescribed AFO, according to CMS. If we look at this design here, it's pretty good for ankle instability. But first rocker, because it usually has a 90-degree stop, it doesn't allow the foot to go down. You don't get first rocker. Because the foot can't go down, it can't move very much, you don't get much second rocker. And certainly it has free dorsiflexion, so it doesn't offer any third rocker. And also there's no ground reaction for balance. So the most commonly prescribed brace in the country basically only addresses 1 out of 5 things. Not the best for Charcot-Marie-Tooth disease. But these dynamic carbon AFOs, and this is why I'm a dynamic carbon AFO enthusiast, this is a wow, right? This is where you get ankle stability, restoring all 3 stance phase rockers, and ground reaction to restore balance. I do a lot of them. They work really well. As my team here on the front here can demonstrate if we have some time. We had a great day yesterday. Alec came to my office, we did some bunch of videotaping of patients, and we also had took the time to take 3 patients and sort of get them to the next level, and it was a lot of fun. These AFOs here show 2 different types of carbon AFOs. The one on the left is just basically for foot drop, but it has the calf in the back of the calf. The cuff is in the back of the calf. It goes down to a flexible strut into the foot. And the one on the front has, of course, the brace in the front of the brace, the shell on the front of the brace, and when you lean into it, you get some resistance. So the one on the back is great for swing phase foot drop. Most braces are. But to manage the stance phase, for balance in all 3 stance phase rockers, you really need a brace that has this ground reaction design. And dynamic carbon, if you can do it, that's the best way to go. So those types of braces, there aren't that many. Blue rocker, which I do a lot of. Blue rocker is just lightweight, it's strong, it doesn't break as often, and it's not a lot on your leg. There's fabric in the front. Usually you're standing on a custom foot orthotic, and that's a wonderful thing because it's comfortable and it's not a lot of hot plastic on your leg. On the lower left-hand corner, that's a dynamic strut that's done by FabTech, and that's called a PD dynamic strut. Surprise Step makes one that's very similar to the Blue Rocker. And then these 2 on the right are custom designs. They're not covered by insurance. They're kind of like boutique-style AFOs. They can be expensive, but also they will certainly do what the Blue Rocker can do. They're a little more rigid, but they work well. Every time I do an off-the-shelf, because those Blue Rockers are off-the-shelf, or you buy them small, medium, and large, left and right, and you have to customize them a lot. You've got to get a custom footbed on there because you don't want someone who has an insensate foot standing on hard carbon, especially if you have painful calluses. So we're going to do a custom footbed that goes on top of that, and it's going to be constructed very specifically just for this AFO. It's going to prevent your ankle from rolling and hitting the strut. It's going to line up your foot so that the pressure over the front of the brace is perfectly distributed over your foot. And that all has to be done. And usually we do that in one visit with a direct mold. Confidence. When the foot hits the ground, like I said, if it's predictable and it's consistent, then over time you'll have confidence in it. And it's elite, that eliminates the need for that downward gaze. I like to say it's like walking with your feet on an automatic pilot. And if anybody's seen the movie, that's that. People also want to know, if I do wear an AFO, will I become weaker? Will I become dependent upon it? How many people consider that a problem? We're worried about that, just a few? Yeah, certainly if you immobilize something, it's going to get weaker. It's going to, if you were in a cast for 3 or 5 years, you'd have a lot of tissues atrophy, your muscles would shrink. There was a study done in 2014 that talked about this specific thing, and it was actually a study on calf circumference. And what they found was that dynamic carbon AFOs, calf circumference increased, and with the old-fashioned plastic total contact braces, it decreased. So in a dynamic carbon AFO, you shouldn't get weaker with it. If anything, and I think it's in the video here, we're going to talk about that, they can make you stronger, especially proximally. Anybody doesn't know, I'm an identical twin. I work with my identical twin brother. Made my mother very happy. And we're mirror image. I'm right-handed, he's left-handed. I have a mole on this side of my face, he has it on this side. So we're really identical. And I always wondered, I said, I think, this patient did well with this AFO, they had this inherited neuropathy. What would it be like if I had identical twins? And at Mass General Hospital, at our CMTA clinic, oh my God, it happened. Identical twins. Fred was my patient. Is this working? Yeah. Fred was my patient. He's the guy in the blue shirt, and his twin brother I fit Fred with the Blue Rocker on this side, and his brother was fit with the other brace. Now they're both carbon braces. How different can it be? Let's see if I can play the video. Oh, that's the wrong one. Hold on. This is the one I want. Oh, no, they're both going. Well, let them both play. So look at these guys like in lockstep, right? Identical twins. So very, very similar deficits. Both have, and they sort of tick all the boxes. They have the weakness in both dorsiflexors, plantar flexors, inverters, and everters. They also have advanced proprioceptive loss for poor balance. And as you watch him walk, that's how they go. Identical twins. Now, whoops, sorry. If you can get that one to play. Hopefully. Action. There we go. So now I'm asking them to both walk at the same speed here. And Fred's kind of taking it easy on his brother right now. And then they'll walk back. And eventually I'm just going to set Fred loose. And it's pretty striking, the difference. Walking speed, propulsion, confidence, all that comes when you have the right AFO that manages all the stance phase issues with it. And you notice when they stand, his brother has to hold on. He walked to the destination, he has to hold on. And now here they're gonna come back. And Fred's gonna hit the afterburners. Yeah. And of course, his brother has to hold on to the wall, and Fred's standing still in open space. So Fred got fit with the right AFO for his specific deficits, and that's why I was saying you've got to get the right AFO to meet your specific needs. Some people just need foot drops. Some people just need foot orthotics. Some people need total immobilization. But that's why that's important. This is this guy here, wonderful man. He's a vice principal of a high school. He was the enforcer. Big guy. He's 6'8". Can you play this video as well? And you're going to see him walk on the left there. If his students ever knew that they could just hit him with a finger and knock him down, but he's very imposing standing there in the hallway like this. And you can't walk on your toes, certainly.
No.
Okay, stop right there for a second. And can you just turn towards me? And I know you're safe with the bars there, but can you put your feet together? Hands down by your sides. And can you balance? Can you balance?
My knees bent.
Yeah, straighten out your knees though. That's cheating. Yeah, so he has what we call in the biz a positive Romberg, double limb support, eyes open. So his proprioceptive loss is pretty dramatic. Now, the AFO for him, this is the PDE design. He would break blue rockers in a heartbeat. He was just too big, too much power, and they didn't work. And so we went for this design here, but it walks very similarly. But this is a lot more plastic and a lot more stuff on your leg. Can you play the second video for me? Whoops, that's not it. There it is. And back. This would be the good part. Give it a couple of more tries, and then I'll just let you know that he walked beautifully with it. He basically got his balance back. He was able to, he got his balance back. He walked with all three stance phase rockers, and he had much more speed, much more confidence walking. Standing in the hallway, then it's a lot harder to knock him down. And this guy's, his head barely fit through the doorway going into the exam room. Neil, this is another guy. Neil is a wonderful guy. I've known him for so many years. I have to sort of keep him on task because he likes to wander and do different things. But he has CMT type 1A, advanced left fixed varus deformity of the ankle. And again, job one's to manage the weight line. So he was good with the blue rocker on the right side. And we had a custom foot orthotic on that side, and it was posted to the moon, just as far as I could fit it into a shoe. And he was okay on that side, but the left side we couldn't control.
10.
So
I only got 8.
CMT 1A.
Oh, good.
advanced varus deformities on both sides, and he's had a chronic problem with skin ulceration. Guess where? Under the base of the fifth metatarsal right there, but it's finally healed, and it looks a lot better. Right under the weight line. I'm gonna have you stand up now.
Is there a voice in this?
Yeah, there is.
Yeah. This left foot is all because of Ken's orthotic.
Okay, so
I can feel a little pressure there in that spot.
turn around so we can see the back view. Okay, and put your feet a little closer together. Can you let go of the table? Good. Can you let go of the table? Okay, good. Seeing it up.
That's sore on the left.
Yeah, go ahead and sit down. That's good. While we talk about managing the weight line, you don't have to be Sherlock Holmes to figure out where the weight line is. If you look on the bottom of the foot and you see where the heaviest callus is, that's where the weight line was. He had that skin broken down for almost a year before it finally healed under the base of his fifth metatarsal where I was pointing earlier. And so to address that issue, you can do all the topographical relief you can. By that I mean making a lot of gullies and sort of donating effect for the wounded area. But the best way to fix it is to correct the weight line. Taking the foot, abducting it out to neutral so that it's not rolling over and it's not adducted here, because the weight line is going to drop through your knee and it'll drop right down to that spot. And that's what we try to fix. So in the next video, this is him walking. Oh, wow. And you can see how unstable the left side is. I don't know why he carries that cane around. It's looks like he whacked somebody with it. But you see the instability in that left ankle. That's just too much. So he can't do much. He can't get around very much. Thank you. And so now here he is fit. And what we've done on this side is we've fit his left side with an immobilizing brace, but it has really strong corrective forces to maximally correct his deformity. On the right side is in a blue rocker. And can you play that one for me? All right, thanks. I was pulling.
All right.
Yeah, I wasn't recording that.
You want?
Good.
Okay, I can do that. Turn around.
I have to keep him on task. He just going through the bars. I didn't ask him to do that. But he went through the bars. And he sort of goes around. But now he's much more stable on that left side. In this particular case, immobilization was worth it because it had a wow effect, right? He got that ankle stabilized without surgery. And so he was very willing to wear that AFO, okay, even though it came at the cost of immobilization. And the other video is very similar. He's just going to walk in the other room, but again, he turns around and he has balance. He's stable for the first time, and that was his wow effect. Here we go. Yeah, still carrying the cane. I don't know.
Feels like I got more support.
Okay, let's have you go back. Can you stop right there for a second? Just get your balance. Good.
Yeah,
Nice.
definitely. I got balance. I got balance.
You have balance.
Yeah,
Wonderful.
I couldn't do that without.
And that's basically it. So their immobilization, again, was worth it, okay, for him. Moving along, click. Click. Aha. This is another patient, very similar, CMT1X. If you can play these quickly, because I know I'm going to go over my time. But.
We have like seconds.
Seconds? All right, let me move ahead. He did the same thing. Hold on. Seconds. That's the AFO. Training. Do I need training? Yes. Yes, you need training. All CMT patients walk with a guarded gait pattern. That's what they do. It's like if you blindfolded somebody and asked them to walk across your backyard for the first time, that's how CMT patients walk. Very guarded, very slow, looking down. Let me move on. I'm running out of time. Gait training. What I have in my office are these two posters. This one here basically baked on the human gait. This talks about gait training. And you have to have good gait training. Patients just don't know what to expect and how the AFO will help them. It's my job in the office to make them experience it that moment. I want them to see what it's like to walk fast, get their balance back. And I always push them until they can get where they're going. And I'm sorry I don't have any time because I would love to show you how a patient we had yesterday ran for the first time in years. And Yeah, and she was, yeah.
We're going to do something a little bit different.
Just
Go
really
ahead,
quickly, I'm
sure.
so sorry.
Yeah, no, don't be
'Cause
sorry.
It was life-changing for me. So I've had over 100 reconstructions and I've never been able to run, but I have to do this for Ken because I broke down crying yesterday. So this is me just walking with confidence, which I always look down on the ground. This is my breakout moment.
That is impressive. Very impressive.